Y Combinator has funded over 4,000 startups worth over $600 billion in combined value. But what if I told you all of Y Combinator's advice could be bundled up into 22 essential rules? I'm going to share those rules that are so concise they can fit into a pocketbook. Hey, I'm Arjun, CEO and founder of doola.com, a venture-backed tech startup here in New York City that's raised over $13 million, and we are backed by Y Combinator. I'm going to run through each truth. These are brutal truths. These are really simple maxims that every founder should have ingrained in their head, and I'm going to share what the rule is and how we apply it at Doola. This is so critical. I actually printed this out and I put it on my desk. Let's dive in. Number one, launch now. If you're watching this video and saying, oh, I'm not ready to launch, I'll launch next week. No, launch now. YC has a rule, always be launching. At Doola, the way we apply this is every quarter we have a launch, and then every day we launch. Do you want to know what that looks like? We post on social every single day. Every week we share customer case studies. All of those you can think of as mini launches. Launch now. Rule number two, build something people want. The only way to find out if someone actually wants what you have is they either pay you with their time, which is usage, or they pay you with their money. So again, it's got to be usage or it's got to be money. Build something people want. Number three, do things that don't scale. When we started Doola, I used to form every company on my own. I used to manually fill out using a PDF editor every EIN that was sent to the IRS. I used to manually send every email saying, hey, congrats, your company's been formed. I used to manually take the PDFs of the documents when they were formed by the state and put them into Google Drive folders and share them with their customers. None of that scales. And a lot of people say, oh, I haven't built the software, or I haven't automated things. That doesn't matter. This is actually my favorite piece of YC advice. Do things that don't scale. If you do things that don't scale and they work, you know what you do? You scale them. You turn the duct tape solution into steel. So do things that don't scale, start manual. It's very easy to think I need to build the software or product first, and you can use that to help leverage. However, the ultimate goal is make something you can sell instead of selling something you can make. And I like that line because it forces you to actually do things that don't scale and then scale them after versus building the perfectly scaled solution for 4 years and realizing no one wants it. Do things that don't scale. Number four, find the 90-10 solution. My favorite example of this is one office hours with our partner, Aaron Epstein. I went to him and I said, Aaron, we can't decide if we should focus on growth or if we should fix all the bugs in the product. And I thought I had him stumped because we were a lean team of less than 10 people and I didn't know what he would say, but I actually thought we were going to stump him. But the second I actually asked the question before I even finished, he looked like a disappointed parent because what he told me is the average founder says we have to do this or we have to do this. The extraordinary founder finds the 90-10 solution. They find the solution where with 10% of the effort, you get 90% of the outcome, which means you're just not approaching the problem in the right way. There is a 10% solution that can get you 90% of growth today. There's also probably a bug or issue that you can fix with 10% effort that solves 90% of your pain. And the goal is the extraordinary founders, they do both. They don't say, is it about growth or retention? It's about both. They don't say, is it about product or design? It's about both. Find the 90-10 solution. Number five, find 10 to 100 customers who love your product. Before you can boil the ocean, you need to boil a spoon. And if you want to make something that many people like, you have to start with a small group of people. Something I actually repeat every week in our company All Hands is we would rather make something a select group of people find spectacular than something that many people find mediocre. And yes, you're probably starting a business. You're probably watching this video because you are ambitious and you want to create something that many people use. But the way to get to many people is start with 1, and then 2, and then 5, and then 10, and then 100. If you can make something that 100 people truly love, it's going to be way easier to get to 1,000 or 10,000 versus trying to get 10,000 people right away and having it be mediocre. So again, find 10 to 100 customers who love your product. Number 6, all startups are badly broken at some point. Let me show you an example. There was a stretch a couple years ago when we were burning lots of money per month, almost $500,000 in burn per month. It was bad. And what I mean by that is I would actually only know the bookkeeping numbers almost halfway into the next month. Imagine flying a plane, but not being able to look out the cockpit or know if the brakes or the buttons are working. That's kind of how it felt. That's one example of things being broken. I can share another example of there was a time when we actually had this issue where we didn't know if a customer was a non-US or US resident that was applying, which meant sometimes we wouldn't be able to apply online for their EIN, which meant they got it weeks later. Bad. It was not good. We were not delivering on expectations. And I share that because on the outside, every company and their website looks rosy, but behind the scenes, every company at some point is badly broken. So if you're in that stage, remember, it's not just you. Every company goes through this, and while it might look rosy and the optics look good on the outside, keep pushing. Again, find that 90-10 solution. Remember, all startups are badly broken at some point. Number 7, write code, talk to users. I love this line because it really boils it down to the two most important things you can do. Really, the two things that matter are writing code, which is building software, which is the product, which scales, or talking to users, because any problem in a startup can be solved by talking to users. We've actually found, and I've looked at our revenue chart, every time we launch a new product, the chart goes like this. And it's kind of a shocker, but it's not, because you've built something new of value. And the way you build something new of value, which you can charge for, is by writing code. And then I found oftentimes our biggest insights in terms of new channels to go after come from talking to a customer, getting on a call. And a customer can be a partner or a customer. You find out the biggest bugs, you find out where they found you, and allows you to double down on channels that are working. So if you're waking up or you're watching this video and you're not sure what to work on today, I have a simple answer for you. Write code or talk to users. Number 8, it's not your money. Remember, you have raised money from investors. You have a fiduciary duty to your investors to deliver that return. They're investing in your business. If you're raising venture capital, very likely you're on a journey to reaching 100 million plus in revenue. It's not your money, it's investor money. And I think a good heuristical rule is treating all of that money like it's not your own, like it's someone else's. Earlier in the video, I talked about how we had issues with burn. And here's the thing, if you're a cash disciplined company, you can stay in the game for longer. While most companies die because the founder loses motivation, as long as you're motivated, the only way you die is if you run out of money. So treat it like it's not your own, stay in the game, remember, it's not your money. Number 9, growth is the result of a great product, not the precursor. It is so easy to fall into the trap of saying, we need to grow faster, let's do more growth hacks. But I once did this office hours with Michael Siebel, and I've done a couple of these. They're earthquake office hours because after the office hours, life isn't the same. And I remember him saying, or just asking me point blank, is your product good? And I said to him, no, it's not. The formation process sucks. We get back to customers in a slow time. We don't even have a dashboard. Sometimes you just have to ask yourself, is your product actually good? And if it is, that is the precursor to growth. Remember, growth is a result of a great product, not the precursor. Number 10, don't scale your team/product until you have product market fit. The best way I could describe product market fit is someone grabbing you by the shirt collar saying, I need what you're making. The example and time I knew we had product market fit is I got these emails from a customer who was in all caps in the subject line saying, I can't pay. And they emailed multiple times saying, I can't pay, I'm trying to pay. And the issue was the Stripe payment page wasn't working. And this customer needed the LLC so badly to accept their payments that they were emailing me multiple times in all caps. That had not happened in the past, and that to me was just a wake-up call of holy crap. People really need what we're offering. Again, an LLC is a means and end to an EIN, which is a means to end to a bank account. Once you have a bank account, you need to keep your business compliant with bookkeeping and taxes. You need the business in a box so that you can make money, get paid, build wealth. Doola is building this business in a box, and it's something people need. But again, don't scale too quickly until you have that hair on fire, someone tugging on your shirt collar feeling. And again, the numbers can demonstrate that. Typically, for a software as a service business, getting $1 million of recurring revenue is a sign of product market fit, but the other can be qualitative. Ask yourself, is anyone actually grabbing your shirt collar? Actually literally or metaphorically? And if so, congrats, you have product market fit. Remember, don't scale your product/team until you have product market fit. Valuation is not equal to success. At the end of the day, the most important metric isn't how big your company is in terms of employees. It's not the valuation. It's how many customers do you have that love you and your revenue, because that means people are paying you in exchange of value for what you're providing. Think of it this way. Instagram sold for $1 billion. WeWork was worth over $40 billion. One was sold for $1 billion. The other went bankrupt. Which one would you rather be? Again, the valuation can be astronomical, but ultimately you have to first get to a liquidity event. So remember, valuation is not equal to success. Number 12, avoid long negotiated deals with big customers. We've gotten on this path where a huge partner comes in and it's so easy to think, oh my God, if we can find this one partnership, we're going to go to the moon. And then you know what happens? You spend months with this big partner. And in that same amount of time, I could have probably done quite literally thousands of individual calls with customers. Now it's so alluring because that big customer hypothetically could send you lots of customers. But the truth is, most times you should avoid that massive partner and just focus on getting more smaller customers. And over time, what actually happens is by getting more of the smaller or medium-sized customers, it actually eventually gets easier to close the bigger customer faster because you've had more reps, and more of those bigger customers will just come to you naturally. So avoid the long negotiations with bigger customers. Number 13, avoid big company corporate development inquiries. This again can sound so appealing because, hey, this big company is reaching out. Maybe they want to acquire us. Maybe there's a partnership opportunity. Here's the truth and what someone told me. It is literally that person's job on that corp dev team to do outreach like this. And it could literally be a KPI on their sheet that says reach out to 15 companies like this per week or per quarter. So remember, they might be reaching out to you because yes, there's an opportunity for something down the line, or you could quite literally be a row in their spreadsheet saying, I've hit my number for the week. So ultimately, avoid the conversations, but I wouldn't burn or close down any bridge. If you're heads down right now, you can let them know, hey, we're heads down. If they have a written proposal for what they're thinking, great, you can review that. But I would not jump at every opportunity because it can be a time suck. Number 13, again, avoid big company corporate development queries. Number 14, avoid conferences unless they get you customers. There are so many conferences, but here's the thing. I've been to some conferences. I've made this mistake where you go thinking you're doing work. Oh, I'm networking. But in the grand scheme, if we come back to some of the earlier advice, the real work is talking to users or writing code. So at these conferences, here's the rule I would say. Unless it actually helps you get customers, you shouldn't go. So we actually go and do sponsor conferences, but we go because we track. Have we actually got an actual conversion from a customer we met there, or a partnership, or some actual value that we can tie back to it? If not, it is not the best use of time now. I'm not saying don't go to conferences to level up or learn, but if the goal is your startup and the goal is the growth, ask, is this truly because I'm going because it's helping the startup, or am I diluting myself there? Avoid conferences unless they help you get customers. Number 15, pre-product market fit, stay small and nimble. Here's the thing. If you have 5 people, you can message really quickly. You can get the full team into a group every single day. It's kind of like a basketball team. You can huddle. You can literally put your arms around each other and talk in a small circle. But if you have 500 people, you physically cannot do that. Someone won't be able to hear you. Someone might be sick. Someone might be sick with 5 people, but the point is with 500 people, communication gets so much harder. So pre-product market fit, pre-someone grabbing you by the shirt collar, the smaller you are, the less your burn will be, but the easier it will be to change directions and communicate. And I think communication is the most important thing when it comes to being nimble and changing course quickly. Pre-product market fit, stay small and nimble. Number 16, startups can only solve one problem well. As a startup, the world is your oyster. You can quite literally go into any industry and build anything. But here's the thing. It is so easy as a company to get shiny object syndrome. So with Doola, for example, our business in a box is business formation, bookkeeping, taxes, and analytics built on top of bookkeeping. We do not build phone lines. We partner with a company like that. We do not build a CRM. We partner with a company called HubSpot for that. We do not build payments in-house. We partner with Stripe for that. A company can only build one thing really well. Find what your zone of genius is, find what your company is good at, and then I would say partner with other companies that do those other things well. Remember, startups can only solve one problem well. Number 17, founder relationships matter more than you think. First of all, your internal co-founder, if you have one. I know this the hard way. I went through a co-founder split. It's like any relationship. They don't just work by accident. You have to have the time to address and have the level 1 conversations. That's the only way you can maintain them. But also what I'd add to this is relationships with other founders are so important because they get what you're going through. So building those relationships allows you to see behind corners you didn't know existed, or know what happens when you're a little bit farther up the mountain because there's another founder there. Founder relationships matter more than you think. Number 18, sometimes you need to fire customers. We made a huge mistake when starting, which all startups make, which is we need customers, so let's serve everyone. So we quite literally used to do LLCs and C Corps. We did some nonprofits, some limited partnerships, and DAO LLCs. That's 5 different entity types. We served everyone. And you know what happens? We were serving many people mediocrely versus a single group spectacularly. So today we focus on LLCs. That means we turn away some customers. We've fired some customers who aren't a good fit. We do it compassionately, of course. We say it's not our focus, but it allows us to serve that single group spectacularly. Do not try to boil the ocean. Serve one single group spectacularly. Sometimes you need to fire customers. Number 19, ignore your competitors. competitors. The caveat I would add here is ignore the competition, but you can follow them closely. So don't copy them, don't completely ignore them. I would say follow them closely. But here's the truth, your business probably isn't dying because of the competition. They're doing something better than you. And the way you can improve that is by just talking to your customers and asking, what can we do better for you? Ignore your competitors. Number 20, most companies don't die because they run out of money. Here's the truth. Most companies actually die well before they run out of money. They die when the team loses motivation. That is the actual death toll. The money just follows. So the most important thing here is managing your psyche as a team, as a founder. And the way I like to do this is keep the momentum. Anytime there is a win, you have to celebrate it like the Super Bowl, because it is so easy as a startup to hit your goal and say, but crap, we have an even bigger goal. And that's true. That's one of the coolest things about startups, is that you're pushing for extraordinary every day, every week, but you still have to celebrate the wins. And I think that's an incredible way in your weekly all hands or the Slack channel to celebrate the wins. Remember, most companies don't die when they run out of money. Number 21, be nice. Life is long, business is long. Yes, maybe you can make a bit more money if you're a bit meaner to a customer or a partner, but I think what goes around comes around. So as much as possible, be nice. In sales, people will buy from you if they like you and if you're valuable. You actually need both of them though. If they like you but there's no value, they're not going to give you money. But if you're valuable and they don't like you, or the relationship went sour, they're also not going to buy from you. I think at the end of the day, people make emotional decisions and then justify with logic. So be nice. Number 22, get exercise and sleep. I ultimately believe that you have to sharpen your body to sharpen your mind. And if you're tired, I would actually question this. You're not too tired to exercise. You're tired because you didn't exercise. And that to me is the best way to describe why I actually view work and exercise as a flywheel, not a balance beam. You don't have to work or exercise, which implies strict trade-offs. I actually think that if you're taking care of your health, you're doing better at work. You have more energy, you're less stressed, you have more stamina. And then if you're doing that, it's actually easier to go to sleep because you've just worked hard all day. You've worked your body and your mind, which means you wake up well rested, and that flywheel is kind of addicting. So remember, founders, get exercise and sleep. That is the pocketbook or pocket guide of essential YC advice. I literally printed this out and put it on my desk because it's so valuable. Comment down below with what your favorite piece of advice is. And if you yourself are building a business and want any help along the way, please comment down below. Please like and subscribe. I put out content like this on the regular. If you found this valuable, please do that. It would mean a ton. And I would love to be a small part of the journey. So if you yourself are looking to start or scale your business from anywhere in the world, you can schedule a demo down below at doola.com. We would love to help. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.